The snow had piled against the cabin door when she reached for his boots, fingers shaking, nails raw. He grabbed her wrist before she could touch them. "Don't move." His voice was low, rough, and the wind outside howled like it wanted in. She stared at him, eyes hollow. "Please," she said. Her lips trembled. "I'm hungry. Cold." He yanked her back by the arm. "Get away from me." He didn't mean it, but the words left his mouth anyway. The cabin smelled of wood smoke and old leather. "I said get away." Her knees buckled. She fell on the snow, coughing. He caught her just before her face hit the ice. "Why are you here?" he spat, though his hands didn't let go. "I need food," she stammered, barely coherent. Her lips were blue. "Please." "You don't just show up here," he said, his voice cracking, then sharpening again. "Who sent you?" She shook her head, shivering violently. "No one. Just please." He leaned closer. His breath fogged in the cold. "Talk fast, or don't talk at all." She froze. Then, her voice came soft, almost a whisper, "Papa." He stepped back, startled, gripping the edge of the doorframe as if it were the last thing keeping him tethered. "What did you just call me?" His voice was louder than he intended. "I said, don't use that name." "Papa," she repeated, stronger this time, reaching for him despite the snow crusting her fingers. "Papa, please." He shook his head violently. "I'm not your, don't say that." His hands were shaking now. The word felt like fire in his chest, like a knife he had buried years ago had just found its way out. "Not me. Not ever." She stared at him, silent for a second, then whispered, "Papa." It wasn't a plea anymore. It was a statement. Something about the way she said it, so certain, made the snow between them feel heavier, almost alive. He pressed his palms to his face, trying to breathe through the sudden weight in his chest. "Why now? Why the hell now?" He muttered under his breath, too loud. She didn't answer. Her teeth chattered. His gaze fell on her frail shoulders, on the way her eyes caught the pale light from the cabin window. Something inside him twisted. He didn't know why, but he knew he couldn't leave her there. He pulled her to her feet. She stumbled against him, weak, and he let her lean. Inside, the cabin smelled warmer, safer. He slammed the door behind them, and it echoed off the walls, drowning out the howl of the wind. His hand was still on her arm, tight, as if letting go might erase the moment or the memory she had just unearthed. She looked up at him, lips trembling, eyes wide, waiting for something. He swallowed. He didn't speak. He didn't move for a long second. Then, finally, he muttered, "Come inside." His voice was rough, uncertain, but it was an invitation. Not a choice. Not yet. Her lips curled slightly. She whispered again, barely audible, "Papa." He clenched his jaw. He didn't answer, didn't correct her. The snow pressed against the cabin like it wanted entry, but inside, silence held them both as he led her to the small hearth. The door shut with a final thud. His hand was still shaking. She shivered, and he realized he had no idea how long it had been since someone had called him that word. He did not know what to do next. The door slammed behind them, echo bouncing off the cabin walls. He let go of her arm, but his eyes didn't leave her. She sank to the floor near the hearth, shaking, watching the fire. "Sit," he said, voice low, almost a growl. She obeyed, knees pulled to her chest, fingers twitching in the cold that still clung to her clothes. "Your name," he demanded. "What's your name?" She shook her head. I can't. Not yet." "You can't? Or you won't?" His hands rubbed the stubble on his jaw. "Don't call me that name. Not here. Not ever. Do you hear me?" "Yes," she whispered, but her eyes didn't leave his. "But, it fits. You." I said stop. He slammed his palm on the wooden table, and she flinched. The sound of her own pulse was louder than the wind outside. Do you know how long I've buried it? How long I've tried to erase it from my own blood? I know, she said, voice steady. I know your scars. On your hands, your arms. The way you hum that lullaby sometimes, when you think no one's listening. I've heard it. He froze mid-motion, a wooden spoon in his hand. What, how do you, his voice cracked. That was my wife's song. Nobody should know it. Nobody. I know, she said again. I know everything you tried to hide. Why the sheriff rides past the old well every day, even in winter. Why the governor never asks questions. Why the men who call themselves law look the other way. He backed toward the stove, a sudden tightness in his chest. Where, who told you? No one, she said. The land tells you if you listen. I listen. Her eyes glinted in the firelight, steady, fearless. You think you can hide things in the snow, in the dark. But they stick. He gritted his teeth. You're lying. You've been fed stories by someone trying to trick me. I didn't need to be fed anything. I've seen it. I've walked through it. The graves, the letters, the whispers behind closed doors. The things no one speaks of. He ran a hand down his face, trying to collect himself. Why are you here? She shifted closer to the fire, small shadows flickering across her face. Because I needed help. Because you could help. Or maybe because I thought you might remember what it's like to be human. He laughed, bitter, short. Human? Look at you. You're freezing, starving, calling me Papa. Human? You don't even know what that word means to me. I do, she said. It means someone survived. Someone remembers. Someone will act. He blinked. For the first time, his voice softened, almost lost. You shouldn't know any of this. You shouldn't. I know, she interrupted. And you can't stop me. You've already lost the power of silence. He froze mid-sentence, staring at her. The firelight carved sharp lines on his face. She sat there, small, defiant, fearless, and he realized she had discovered the cracks in the walls he thought were impenetrable. He exhaled slowly, voice low. Then, stay. Sit. Don't move. He didn't ask. He didn't decide. He just knew the moment had passed when denial could protect either of them. She nodded once. The word Papa hovered between them, unspoken but felt, heavy as snow on the roof outside. He didn't correct her. He didn't take it back. He only moved to tend the fire, shoving old logs forward, feeling the heat burn through the frost still clinging to his fingers. The wind rattled the cabin boards. They didn't speak for a long moment, but the silence wasn't empty. It was full of things neither of them could name yet. He stepped back from the fire, eyes narrowing as she mentioned the well. The well? His voice was sharp, clipped, full of warning. Don't. I saw it, she said quietly. The water never reached the top. Dry as the promises they made. You said she drowned, but the well was empty. He froze. His hands clenched into fists, knuckles white against the rough wood of the table. That girl, she's gone. Drowned. You're talking nonsense. I'm not, she said, voice rising slightly. The land remembers, even if men forget. Even if you forget. He slammed his hand against the table, rattling the plates. I didn't forget. He stopped, breath coming harsh, ragged. I had to leave. I had to survive. You don't know what it was like, being a man and a witness to all the wrong and still being told to look the other way. I know, she said softly, but her voice carried. I know everything that was hidden, everything they thought would stay buried. And I've walked where it was buried. I've seen it. Felt it. You don't understand, he started, but she interrupted. I understand more than you know, she said, shaking slightly, eyes fixed on him, unblinking. I know fear. I know silence. I know the smell of graves you never visit. I know how easy it is for men to forget girls like me, girls like her. He staggered back, pressing a hand against the doorframe as if the wood could hold him upright. You shouldn't know these things. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't, his voice cracked. I'm here, she said, voice steady, almost calm. And I won't run. Not this time. Not from the past. Not from the men who hide behind badges and names. His chest heaved. He wanted to scream, to deny, to pull the snow from her hair and tell her it wasn't true, but her certainty pressed against him, an unrelenting weight. You can't stay, he said finally, voice low. You'll get yourself killed. I don't care, she said. Her eyes glimmered in the firelight. If I die knowing the truth. Knowing what they did. Knowing what men in power can't erase. He gritted his teeth, jaw tight. And you think I can protect you? After all these years? You can try, she said. Or you can stay silent again. Choose the silence, choose the snow, choose the graves. He ran a hand through his hair, shoving it back roughly. I can't, don't make me. You can, she said simply. You choose every day. You chose once before. You ran. You left. You buried it all, thinking the snow would cover the shame. But it doesn't. Not here. Not anywhere. The wind howled outside, rattling the cabin boards. Footsteps sounded faintly in the snow. His eyes snapped to the door. Someone's out there, he said, tension stiffening his spine. In the snow. I know, she said, voice quiet but unwavering. I heard them. But I'm not afraid. He stared at her, at the small, defiant figure by the fire, shivering yet unwavering. Something in him tightened, something old and buried shifting in his chest. The snow pressed against the cabin like it wanted entry, like the past had come to reclaim them both. He swallowed hard, nodding once. Then, stay close. Don't move. Whatever happens, don't move. She nodded, eyes fixed on the fire. Her lips trembled slightly, whispering once more, almost to herself, Papa. He didn't correct her. He couldn't. The footsteps outside grew nearer, crunching in the snow. He tightened his fists, waiting, listening, heart-hammering, knowing the past wasn't gone. It was waiting. The knock came sudden, sharp, echoing through the cabin like a gunshot. Both of them froze. He pressed a hand to the door, listening, every muscle taut. Who is it? His voice was low, wary. Sheriff, a calm voice replied, practiced, familiar. Evening. Mind if I come in? She stiffened, barely breathing, eyes wide. She whispered, I can't be seen. He pressed a finger to his lips. Stay behind me. Don't move. Rumors of a woman on the ridge, the sheriff said casually, voice carrying in the night. Thought I'd check. The governor's been asking questions, though I don't rightly know why. You mind telling me what you're hiding? He took a step back from the door, heart hammering. Nothing. Nobody's hiding anything. Funny, the sheriff said, tone light, almost teasing. Folks talk. Say a girl's been wandering the woods alone. That a mountain man's taken her in. You know anything about that? No, he said quickly, voice sharper than intended. I don't know what you're talking about. You sure? The sheriff laughed softly, nails tapping the doorframe. Wouldn't want to mislead a man who's supposed to be upholding the law. She watched him from behind, quiet, tense, as his eyes darted to the window. He kept his hand on the door, thumb brushing the worn wood. He was lying, for the first time in years. And he knew it. I didn't lie, he said, forcing a calm he didn't feel. There's no one here. No girl. No trouble. Trouble, the sheriff repeated. Trouble finds people whether they want it or not. You ever wonder why the well at the edge of town never fills in winter? Or why the old families keep secrets so deep even the snow can't cover them? He froze mid-breath. The woman stepped slightly, but he caught her wrist. "Don't," he whispered. "I'm just saying what folks already know," the sheriff continued. "A woman on the ridge. Snow deep. Nobody sees her but you, I reckon. You mind if I take a look around? For old time's sake." "No," he said, voice tight. "You don't." There was a pause. Footsteps shifted outside, boots crunching lightly in the snow. Then a glint of metal appeared through the crack of the door. The badge caught the firelight, small, bright, accusing. He swallowed hard. "Sheriff," his voice was low, unsteady. "You don't." "I'm just checking," the voice said, calm, unyielding. "Make sure nobody's breaking laws. Make sure everyone's safe. Don't worry. I don't bite." He pressed his palm against the doorframe, chest tight, thinking of every letter he had burned, every silence he had kept, every shadow in the cabin. She stayed behind him, tense, trembling, lips moving slightly, whispering words he couldn't yet hear. "You might want to come clean," the sheriff said, voice softening. "It's easier in the dark than in the snow. Easier to admit truth before someone else finds it." He shook his head, swallowing. "I can't. Not yet. There's nothing to tell." The sheriff laughed lightly, a sound that carried through the cold night. "Then I'll leave you to it. But remember, rumors travel. Snow doesn't cover everything. Not forever." He exhaled slowly as footsteps retreated into the night. The glint of the badge lingered in his mind. She watched him silently, chest rising and falling. He had lied. And now he had to live with it. He sank to the floor near the fire, still staring at the door. "We can't stay quiet," he said finally. "Not anymore." She didn't answer. She only nodded, eyes fixed on the flickering flames, waiting, knowing the next move would decide everything. The crunch of boots faded into the distance, swallowed by the snow. He exhaled slowly, chest tight, feeling the silence press into the cabin. She sat near the fire, hands wrapped around the rim of a tin cup, staring at the soup. "Eat," he said, voice low. "Slowly. Don't choke." "I can't," she whispered, shivering. She scooped a spoonful, paused, then let it fall back into the bowl. "I'm too hungry. I'll." "Eat slower," he snapped, but his voice softened as he saw her trembling hands. "If you choke, you won't get another chance tonight." She looked up, eyes wide, blue frozen in the firelight. "Did you ever look for me?" she asked, voice barely audible over the crackle. "No," he said immediately, shaking his head. "I never," his throat tightened. I didn't." She stared at him a long moment. "I know," she said. "I know you didn't. You never did. You watched the snow, waited, hid. Men always hide." He clenched his jaw, picking at the fire with a poker. Sparks flared, lighting the fear on her face. "Don't," he said. "Don't say that." "Why?" she asked, voice soft, calm. "Why protect graves better than living girls?" He flinched, the question slicing through him. "It's easier. People remember graves. They don't remember children. Not the ones who vanish." Her lips pressed together. "They should," she said. "They should scream your name if you leave. If they let it happen. But they don't." He turned, backing against the wall, hands pressed flat. "I did what I could." "You could have done more," she said, voice shaking slightly, almost breaking. "But you didn't. You looked away. You let them." "Enough," he said sharply, voice rising, then falling. He ran a hand through his hair, jaw tight. "I did what I had to. I survived. That's all any of us do." She looked at him, eyes hard now, steady, unyielding. "Surviving isn't enough. It never was. It's why things like this keep happening. It's why girls disappear." The silence pressed between them. Outside, snow scraped the cabin walls. Inside, he pressed his forehead to his palms, feeling the weight of every choice, every absence, every frozen promise. "I can't fix it," he said finally, voice low, almost a whisper. I don't know how." "You can," she said. Her voice carried, steady despite her trembling. "Not alone. But you can. You just have to stop running from it." He closed his eyes, swallowing. I don't know if I can face it." "You can," she said simply. "You just have to choose. Stop hiding behind the fire. Stop hiding behind the snow. Look. Listen. Act." He turned slightly, watching her carefully as she slowly took another spoonful of soup. Her movements were cautious, almost fearful, as though the food itself might vanish if she didn't eat fast enough. The way she ate, small bites, constant glances to the door, told him more than words ever could. She was afraid. Afraid she'd be taken again. Afraid she couldn't trust anyone. Afraid he'd turn away. He wanted to reach out, to steady her, but he didn't. He let her keep the distance, let her tremble. He realized the fire was warmer than he expected. He realized her courage was sharper than his own fear. "You know things," he said finally, voice low, hesitant. "Things you shouldn't. How did you?" "I see," she said, eyes steady, voice calm. "I see what men think they hide. I see what the snow tries to cover. I see what the land keeps." He looked away, turning his back to hide the sudden burn of tears. She kept eating, cautiously, as the fire crackled, small and relentless, holding them both in its light. He moved toward the stove, fingers brushing the cold metal of the drawer. The old wood creaked under his touch. He pulled it open, hands shaking slightly, and unearthed a stack of yellowed letters, edges curled, ink faded but legible. He stared at them for a long moment, the smell of smoke and old paper filling his nose. "Letters?" she asked, voice calm but curious, kneeling closer to the fire. "From a long time ago," he said, gripping the papers. "Things I thought were gone." She reached out, hesitant. "May I read?" He shook his head. "No. Not yet. Not anyone." She tilted her head, eyes fixed on him. "Why not?" "They're not for your eyes. They're private. Names, dates. People you shouldn't know about. People who died quietly because men like me stayed silent." "I know about silence," she said softly, watching him. "I hear it. I've felt it. But I can also read it, if you let me." He hesitated, then pulled a letter free. The ink was shaky but still readable. He handed it to her, almost reluctantly. She opened it carefully, voice steady as she read aloud. "To whoever finds this, know that the girl is safe for now, but the families will never admit what they have done. Signed, Mary." Her voice faltered slightly, then steadied. "She vanished. They never found her." He swallowed, jaw tight. That was years ago. Nobody needed to know. Nobody ever would." "She calls you Papa," she said, voice soft, almost a whisper. "I hear it now. And I understand." He flinched, gripping the edge of the table. Don't call me that. Not yet. Not here." She shook her head. "I see the truth. You can't run from it. And I can see you, too. I know who you are." He slammed the drawer shut, startling her. The letters were stacked on the table, edges curling toward the fire. He picked them up, tossing them one by one into the flames. The paper hissed, smoke curling, ink bubbling. "No," she said, reaching for one, but he yanked it back. "It's mine to burn," he said. "All of it. Every last lie, every secret. Gone." She stepped back, watching the letters burn. Her eyes reflected the firelight, steady, unwavering. "Don't hide from it," she said. "The truth, it's all that keeps you human." He hesitated, then pulled one letter back from the flames. His fingers were trembling. The fire licked at the edges, curling the paper, but he held it tightly. "One more," he muttered. "I need one more." She didn't speak. She only nodded, sitting back against the wall, arms wrapped around her knees, eyes on him. The word Papa hovered unspoken between them, heavy, unclaimed. "You burned the rest," she said finally. "They're gone." "Yes," he said, voice low. "Gone. As if they never existed. As if the past, the choices, the silence, it all disappears in the fire." She tilted her head, watching him struggle to release the last letter. "Some things don't disappear," she said softly. "Not entirely. Some things stay, waiting for someone to face them." He clenched the paper in his fist, smoke curling between his fingers. He didn't answer. He only stared at the fire, feeling the weight of every word, every secret, every life hidden in the ink. "You can't correct the past," she said, voice calm. "But you can act now. You can choose to be seen. Or not. It's your choice. Always your choice." He exhaled slowly, jaw tight, and finally let the letter slip from his fingers into the flames. The smoke curled into the rafters, black against the warm light. She whispered, barely audible, "Papa." He didn't respond, didn't correct her. He watched the fire consume the paper and realized the truth. Some things could be hidden, some things could be burned, but some things, like names and memory, would not let themselves be forgotten. He held the half-burned letter in his hands, smoke curling around his fingers, heat pressing into his palms. The fire had eaten the edges, but the ink still clung to the paper. He stared at it, jaw tight, chest constricted, and felt the weight of every secret pressing down on him. "You lied," she said softly, voice calm but unflinching. She sat near the fire, knees drawn up, eyes on him. "You lied to everyone. To yourself. To me." "I didn't lie," he said quickly, snapping the letter slightly. It's not what you think." "It is," she said, leaning closer. "You ran. You hid. You pretended nothing happened. You pretended she was gone, the girl, the letters, the graves, all gone because you didn't want to see. But you did see. You saw everything and chose silence." He shook his head, voice low. "I survived. That's what I did. I left. I had no choice. If I stayed, I'd have been killed. If I stayed, they'd have taken everything. You don't understand what it's like." "I understand," she interrupted, sharp, unwavering. "I understand more than you think. I see the way the town hid its shame. I see the men who wear badges and do nothing. I see how people like you run from what matters. And I see the truth in your hands. In that letter. In the smoke. In the fire you tried to hide behind." He clenched his teeth, pressing the letter to his chest, the heat from the fire burning through his jacket. I did what I had to do. The town chose power over children. I didn't. You chose silence," she said, voice softening slightly but still sharp. "You left. You let them hide. You let them decide what's remembered and what isn't. You ran when someone should have stayed. And you call that surviving?" He exhaled slowly, pressing a hand to his forehead. "I was told to forget. Told it would be safer. Told it would be easier. Everyone said the same thing. Leave it in the past. Let it burn. Let the snow cover it." "And it did," she said, voice steady, eyes glinting in the firelight. "The snow covered it, but it didn't erase it. The land remembers. I remember. You remember. And now, it's time to face it." He pressed his palms to the fire, letting the warmth hit his face, but it did nothing to melt the ice in his chest. "I should have come back," he muttered, voice barely audible, almost lost. "I should have come back to stop it. I should have." "Yes," she said softly. "You should have. But it's not too late. Not yet. You can still choose. You can still act. You can still be seen. You can still stop running. He looked at her, at the small, unflinching figure, and realized the truth in her words. He had been hiding behind the fire, behind the smoke, behind the letters he burned. He had been hiding behind his own fear. But she didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She wasn't afraid. Not anymore. I should have come back, he repeated, louder this time, letting the words hit the walls, the cabin, the snow outside. They trembled in the firelight, heavy and sharp. She nodded once. Then you start now. Start by being here. Start by seeing. Start by acting. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the smoke, the fire, the letters, the lies. He let it press against him. Let it remind him of everything he had tried to forget. And for the first time, he felt the shape of his own lie, clear and undeniable, and knew he could not hide it any longer. She stood up from the floor slowly, as if testing the ground beneath her feet. Her shoulders were straighter now. Her voice didn't shake. They don't lose girls, she said. That's the lie they tell. Girls don't wander off. Girls don't vanish on their own. He watched her, wary. What are you saying? I'm saying it's organized, she replied. It's quiet. It's planned. Old families. Men with land and names that go back generations. They take what they want, and the town helps them hide it. That's not. Yes, it is, she cut in. Church basements. Back rooms. Places people call safe. The sheriff knows. He always knows. He decides which doors stay locked and which ones open. He shook his head, rubbing his neck. You're talking about monsters. No, she said. I'm talking about neighbors. The fire cracked behind them. Outside, the wind dragged snow across the cabin walls. He swallowed hard. How do you know all this? Because I lived it, she said. Because I watched girls disappear and heard people say their names wrong on purpose. Because I saw mothers stop asking questions once the sheriff came by. Because I learned early that silence keeps you breathing. He clenched his fists. They would have killed you. They tried, she said flatly. They still might. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then why come here? Why me? She met his eyes. Because you left. Because you didn't belong to them anymore. Because I thought you might remember what it felt like to be afraid of the right things. He looked away, jaw tight. I stopped being useful a long time ago. You stopped being silent, she said. That's useful. He laughed once, short and bitter. You think that's enough? No, she said. But it's a start. The firelight caught the lines on her face, young but worn. They don't lose girls, she repeated. They decide who's worth looking for. Who's worth mourning. Who's worth lying about. He breathed in slowly. What do you want from me? She didn't hesitate. To stop running. That's it? That's everything, she said. If you stay, they notice. If you speak, they panic. If you're seen, the silence breaks. He stared at her, feeling the weight of the mountain pressing in. And if I don't? She shrugged slightly. Then they keep winning. And I leave. Or I disappear. Either way, nothing changes. The words sat heavy between them. He looked toward the window, down the slope where the road cut through the trees. In the distance, faint and low, engines hummed. You hear that? He asked. She nodded. Yes. They're closer than before. They will be, she said. They always come back when something doesn't stay buried. He exhaled through his nose. I swore I'd never get involved again. You swore a lot of things, she said gently. Some of them kept people alive. Some of them didn't. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, something had shifted. Not courage. Not peace. Just resolve. I don't know how this ends, he said. I do, she replied. It ends with the truth being louder than the snow. The engines grew clearer, crawling up the road below. He reached for his coat, his movements slow and deliberate. Then don't run, she said. He nodded once. I'm done running. Headlights cut through the trees below, slow and steady, crawling up the mountain road. The glow flickered against the cabin walls like a warning. He watched from the window, jaw tight. They're coming, he said. I know, she replied, already standing. I hear them. Go to the back, he said. There's a hollow behind the shed. They won't see you. No, she said immediately. I'm not hiding again. You don't understand, he snapped. If they see you, this ends bad. It already ended bad, she said, voice firm. Hiding didn't save anyone. It never does. He turned from the window, reaching for the rifle mounted above the door. His hands paused, hovering. I swore I'd never touch this again. Then don't use it, she said. But don't pretend it isn't there. He pulled it down anyway, checking the weight, the cold metal biting into his palm. If they force their way in. You won't shoot, she said. He looked at her. How do you know? Because you're not that man, she said. You're afraid of becoming him. The engines grew louder, tires crunching against packed snow. He set the rifle down on the table, not loading it. Stay behind me, he said. I will, she said. But I won't disappear. A door slammed outside. Voices carried uphill, low and confident. He felt the sound in his chest. Snow carried sound better than silence ever could. Listen to me, he said quickly. If they ask, you don't speak. You let me talk. She shook her head. No. I speak when it matters. This matters, he said. So do I, she replied. Footsteps approached, deliberate, heavy. He swallowed hard. If this goes wrong. It already went wrong a long time ago, she said quietly. Tonight is just the part where someone stops pretending. The knock didn't come yet. The steps circled the cabin first, slow, testing. He felt watched. They're trying to scare us, he muttered. It works on people with something to lose, she said. He looked at her then, really looked. She wasn't shaking. Her eyes were clear. You're not afraid, he said. I am, she answered. I'm just not letting it decide for me anymore. The rifle sat untouched on the table. He stepped away from it, moving toward the door. I won't shoot, he said. No matter what. She nodded once. Good. Another engine cut off. Silence rushed in, heavy and thick. He reached for the door latch, then stopped. His breath came slow, controlled. If I step out there, he said, they won't let it go. They already haven't, she replied. This just makes it honest. He rested his forehead against the door for a second, eyes closed. The past pressed in hard. The letters. The well. The badge. The word she kept saying. Papa, she said softly behind him. Not a plea. Not a test. Just a truth. He straightened. His hand stopped shaking. Stay here, he said. She didn't argue this time. He opened the door and stepped into the snow. The cold hit him hard, clean, real. Behind him, the door closed, sealing the choice he'd finally made. The snow crunched under his boots as he stepped onto the ridge, rifle slung but unused. Headlights cut through the trees below, deputies forming shadows like jagged teeth. He stopped, shoulders squared. She appeared behind him, silent, small but unyielding, watching. Mountain man, the sheriff called, voice carrying across the snow. I see you finally decided to come out. I'm not the man you think I am, he said, voice low but steady. I'm done hiding. You've got a girl with you, the sheriff said, tilting his head. Thought you'd have some excuse for this. Explain her, maybe. She's not an excuse, he said, eyes scanning the deputies. She's alive. And you, he stopped, catching himself. He swallowed hard, then spat the words. You know the well. You know what happened there. You know the letters. You know the families. And you stayed silent. The sheriff's smile faltered, just a fraction. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, he said. You know the names of girls who disappeared. You know who took them. You know who let it happen. And I won't let it be quiet anymore. The deputies shifted, boots crunching in the snow. One whispered something to another. The sheriff cleared his throat. You think shouting names in the cold will change anything? Yes, he said. It will change who lives. Who's seen? Who's held accountable? And you know it. The woman stepped out from behind him, shoulders straight, eyes cold. He's telling the truth, she said. You know the names. You know the families. You know the graves. The sheriff's voice wavered, just slightly. This girl, she's. I am, she interrupted, voice steady. I know everything. I've seen what's hidden. And you'll not stop me from speaking it now. He pointed toward the snow-dusted road below. The letters. The well. The names. All of it is here, and it's all yours to answer for. The sheriff's hand twitched near his belt. The deputies looked at one another, unease growing. You're outnumbered, one muttered. I'm done counting numbers, he said. I'm counting the truth. And the truth doesn't care about numbers. Doesn't care about badges. Doesn't care about the snow or the silence. You lost that power the moment you hid behind it. The woman's eyes flicked to him. Say my name, she whispered. He looked at her, then back at the sheriff, then back again. His voice was low, deliberate. Papa, he said. The word cut through the cold, sharper than the wind. The sheriff's eyes widened. He swallowed. The deputies shifted uncomfortably. I'm not hiding, he continued, voice stronger now. I'm seen. I will testify. I will name names. You will answer for everything you tried to cover up. The woman stepped closer to him, snow crunching under her boots. Papa, she said again, louder. Say it in front of them. Say my name. Say what they tried to hide. He looked at her, saw the firelight dancing in her eyes, saw the courage she had carried alone, saw the word that had unburied him. Papa, he said, louder this time, for everyone to hear. The wind caught the sound, carrying it across the snow, past the deputies, past the trees. Silence followed. Not the empty silence of hiding, but the sharp, heavy silence of truth finally spoken. The sheriff swallowed again, glint of fear or recognition in his eyes. The deputies shifted, uneasy. The mountain man and the girl stood together, names unspoken between them now, yet fully claimed. Papa, she said one more time, just above a whisper, her voice steady, unwavering. He nodded, finally letting himself feel it, the word, the name, the truth, the choice. He would not run. Not tonight. Not ever again. The wind had died down. Snow lay thick and quiet over the ridge, headlights far below, dim now. He stood beside her, chest tight, listening to the silence. The deputies had retreated, the sheriff's voice gone, leaving only the crunch of snow under his boots. They're gone, she said, voice soft, almost a whisper. She looked up at him, eyes steady. For now. For now, he echoed, exhaling slowly. He kept his hands on the rifle, though it felt heavier than before, heavier than it had any right to be. You're safe? I'm never unsafe, she said. Not if I remember. Not if I see. He stared at her, the word Papa still hovering between them, unspoken but powerful. I thought I had to save you. That was the only way to make things right. You didn't have to save me, she said, shaking her head. I don't need saving. I needed you to see. To stop hiding. To face it with me. That's what mattered. He sank to his knees in the snow, hands digging into the frozen earth. I need forgiving, he said, voice raw. I need to be forgiven for everything I didn't do, everything I let happen, everything I ran from. She knelt beside him, small hand brushing the snow off his coat. That comes later, she said. First, you need to see. And be seen. That's the start. He pressed his palms against the snow, letting it soak through his gloves, cold biting at his skin. The letters, the well, the silence, it all weighs on me. I don't know if I can carry it. You carry it anyway, she said. Even if it hurts. Even if it breaks you. That's what the land keeps. The memories, the wrongs, the hidden things. You can't bury it. You can only face it. He looked at her, eyes heavy with years he'd never spoken aloud. And you? Do you carry it? I do, she said simply. But I don't hide it. That's the difference. He swallowed, jaw tight. The snow pressed against his boots, cold seeping up through leather and wool. I don't know if I can forgive myself. You don't have to, she said. Not yet. Just start by staying. Start by being here, by facing it, by not running. He exhaled slowly, closing his eyes. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the weight of past mistakes, the names of girls, the memory of silence. He pressed his forehead to his hands. I thought the land forgot, he murmured. I thought snow could cover everything. I was wrong. It doesn't forget, she said softly. It keeps count, even if men don't. Even if they close their eyes. You've seen it now. You can't unsee it. And you won't run. He nodded once. I won't run. Together, they rose. He took her hand, small and firm in his. They moved slowly toward the edge of the ridge where the old well waited, shadowed and quiet, snow piled high around its stone. Each step pressed deep into the fresh snow, leaving marks of presence, proof that they existed, that they were seen. She looked at him as they reached the well. The land keeps what it should, she said. And now, it keeps us too. He glanced down at the stone circle, cold and silent, yet somehow alive with memory. Then we walk it together, he said. She nodded, letting him lead, hand in hand, toward the dark center of the well. The snow around them glittered faintly in the moonlight, holding their footprints like evidence of survival. The silence stretched, not empty now, but full of memory, of truth, of something hard-earned. They stood at the edge of the old well, snow falling gently now, soft and steady, dusting shoulders and hair. He looked down into the darkness, feeling its cold pull, the memory of every buried secret pressing against him. You really will stay? She asked, voice quiet, steady, almost trembling. I will, he said. I'll testify. I'll speak. I'll be seen. I won't hide anymore. Her hand slipped into his, warm against the cold. She squeezed lightly. You know what that means? Yes, he said. I know. It means danger. It means judgment. It means they'll come for us. But I'm done running. She nodded, small smile breaking across her face. Then you stay. I stay, he repeated, letting the words solidify in the snow around them. The wind carried them, whispered them, made them permanent. She reached into her coat and pulled out the last letter. Edges singed, ink faded, folded over and over. She held it above the well. This is the end of silence, she said softly. For you, for me, for them. He watched as she dropped the paper into the darkness. It fluttered once, then vanished. Smoke from old embers rose from the cabin behind them, curling toward the stars. I won't forget, she said, turning to him. But I won't let it own me anymore. Not you. Not me. Not the snow. He swallowed, tight in his throat. You don't have to be saved, he said. I thought I needed to save you. But maybe we just needed to stay. To be here. Together. She stepped closer, brushing snow from his shoulder. "Papa," she whispered, the word carrying weight, comfort, and claim. He felt the ache of every year, every regret, every silence, and finally let himself answer. I stay," he said, voice firm. "I stay. I'm here. I'm yours. I'm Papa." Snow drifted down, soft against their coats, filling the space between them and the old world. The ridge stretched around them, quiet, shadowed, remembering everything. Footprints led to the well, to the cabin, to the forest beyond. Each one a testament. They were here, they had survived, they had chosen. She leaned into him, resting her head against his chest. "We can face it," she said. "Whatever comes next. Together." He held her close, feeling her warmth seep into him, thawing the years of cold, of distance, of fear. "Together," he repeated. "No running. No hiding. Just here." The night deepened. The snow whispered against the stones, against the trees, against the ridge. It carried sound now differently, not the sound of fear, not the sound of hiding, but the sound of presence, of truth, of life and choice and claim. He breathed in, letting the cold burn his lungs, feeling it clear away the past, letting it mark the present. "I see it all now," he said. "And I stay." She tilted her head up to him, eyes bright in the moonlight. "Papa," she said again, soft and certain. He kissed the top of her head, holding her tighter. "I hear you. I am here. I stay. Always." For the first time in years, the ridge was quiet without threat, without fear, without the pressing weight of silence. The snow fell, steady, covering everything, yet revealing what truly mattered. Hand in hand, they turned from the well, moving slowly back toward the cabin. The firelight flickered across their faces, illuminating the truth they had chosen to face together. They walked as equals, as survivors, as family. The night closed softly around them, but neither the darkness nor the cold could touch what they had reclaimed, each other, each name, each promise kept.